Shalom family, it's your man Elijah. Thank you for joining me at Unsectarian Wisdom. And as usual, I'm a wise, wealthy, rich, celestial being that is loved by the Most High Creator. Let's get it, family. Let's go ahead and jump in and let's do this. And today, family, we're jumping into the teachings of Buddha. And we're going to jump right in. Chapter 1, the Shakyamuni Buddha. The life of the Buddha. Chapter 1. The Shakya clansmen dwelt. Oh, also family, just to throw in, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, with thy own get understanding. Don't believe nothing I say, but read for yourself. Get this book yourself if you want, or get other books, or hard copy, or download it online, whatever. Do the reading yourself. Also, when it comes to studying, family, once again, this is not me sitting here promoting Buddhism, not telling nobody to be no Buddhist, but I am saying it's a book. Read it. Get the wisdom out of it. The Creator puts wisdom everywhere, but you got to find it yourself. And also, when you study, like for instance, this word, Shakya and clansmen, right, in the beginning. Take time, like, I'm not going to do it so much now because it's the name of a clan and it's going to take away from the reading. But, when you're on your own, or even now, like Shakya is Shakya, clansmen. And I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but Shakya, whatever, something like that. No disrespect by saying whatever. But study. Go do your research. Go to Google. Go look up that clan. Because sometimes, family, what will happen is, and this goes for even studying the Quran and Bible. When you come to a word you don't know and you take the time to actually look that word up, what's the meaning behind it, what's the origins of it, sometimes those can take you down another rabbit hole for days or hours, because you'll find out information that you didn't even know before. And then it'll give even more meaning to what you're reading and give you another way of looking at things, to understanding it on a deeper level. So just keep that in mind. The Shakya clansmen dwelt along the Rohani River, which flows among the southern foothills of the Himalayas. Their king, Shuddhadana Gautama, established his capital at Kapilvastu. Look, family, a lot of these are words obviously from different languages and origins, so I'm not going to sit here and we're not going to look at every name. You can see that they're names of cities and clans of people, so use sentence context. I'm going to start all over. The Shakya, so anyone who, forgive me for butchering the names. The Shakya, it's either Shak, anyway, the Shakya clansmen dwelt along the Rohani River, which flows among the southern foothills of the Himalayas. Their king, Shuddhadana Gautama, established his capital at Kapilvastu, and there had a great castle built and ruled wisely, winning the acclaim of his people. The queen's name was Maya. She was the daughter of the king's uncle, who was also the king of neighboring district of the same. Okay, the queen's name was Maya. She was the daughter of the king's uncle, who was also the king of a neighboring district of the same Shakya clan. For 20 years they had no children. But one night Queen Maya had a strange dream, in which she saw a white elephant entering into her womb through the right side of her chest, and she became pregnant. Family, just want to tell you something. White is, like, for instance, a Native American history or mythology or religion, whatever you want to call it. A representation of the Messiah within their culture is a white buffalo. So white animals could also be representations of the Creator or the Messiah or help from the Creator. So just just throwing it out there. The king and the people look forward with anticipation to the birth of a royal child. According to their custom, the queen returned to her parents' home for the birth, And on her way in the beautiful spring sunshine, she took a rest in the Lumbini garden. I've never read this before, family. Look, the studying that I've done into Buddhism has been more so just, I haven't really dove deep, but more so just on the spiritual aspects, the meditations, um, just certain other aspects that suit me in my studies. But even just through those studies, like I said, I realized everything is under the under the same umbrella of the Creator, family. And every single religion, in my opinion, has a piece. Like, I think Christianity is more the spiritual side. I think Islam is more of the practical side, of the physical side of how to better be a follower of God. And I think Buddhism is like a mixture between the spiritual and the physical. So I guess I would say, if religions were different levels in school, I would probably say Islam is first, because Islam is the common sense of more so, or the Quran. When I say Islam, I don't want to say the religion, but well, okay. Anyway, so we're gonna say Islam is more so, like I said, the practical application of living a life more pleasing to creation. And then I say after that, the second year of school would be Christianity, which is the spiritual aspect, the spiritual addition to it, right? Because of Yahusha is going to help you, basically get you started now. Like, Islam gives you the physical aspect, the what you need to be doing everyday life, physicality, right? How you should carry yourself, conduct yourself, break it down. Okay, kids, this is how you act. All right, now you go to middle school. Now in middle school, you start introducing spirituality, which is where Yahusha comes in, where it's going to coincide with what Islam goes, especially when it brings up the discipline. Because in order to go deeper in spirituality and understanding, you have to discipline your body. Because at the end of the day, the final battle isn't going to be against another person or entity, whatever. It's against yourself. And you have to be able to overcome yourself. In other words, your flesh. To tap deep within your spiritual self, your angelic self, or whatever you want to call it, your God self. So from then Christianity, so then you would go into Buddhism, and Buddhism, it would be more like of a combining of Christianity and Islam, and taking it to a deeper level. So like when Buddhists say, you hear Buddhists say, oh, we're not, some like Buddhists say we're not necessarily a religion. And, we don't necessarily have a God, which is true, but not that they don't believe in gods. So what I'm saying is, that kind of coincides with what I'm saying. Islam and Christianity introduce you to the creator of all things. Buddhism gives you the tools to better commune with the creator of all things. And along the way, I would say gives you more understanding of other deities that are around, that are like you, but you're all from the creator. Not to say that any of you are the creator, because this is where Islam, I would say, and although I argue it at times, I do understand. When I speak with brothers who follow Islam, where we differ at times is how I might say that I'm a son of God, or that all women and all children are the children of the creator, and they'll say that's blasphemy. That's I forget the word they use, but basically that's disrespectful, because that's like putting yourself near God. And in the way I understand it, because you want to keep that respect of the creator of all things, because the creator of all things is not a man, is not a woman. So in a way, I can see if they say where the creator is not, in a fleshly sense, your mother or your father, but in another sense, the creator is, because a mother and a father does what? They protect you, they provide for you. Is that not what the creator does? But then again, and then on top of that, you come from creation. Everything is within the creator. So even if it may not be in the mother and father sense of the world, still in a sense of the job of a mother and a father, which is to provide and treat and is to provide and teach you. Creation does that. I mean, if you're willing to listen and study and get to know yourself, then creation does become apparent unto you. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there. So that's just okay. So for 20 years they had no children, but one night Queen Maya had a strange dream in which she saw a white elephant entering into her womb through the right side of her chest, and she became pregnant. The king, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that no, I know that right side of the chest means something, but I'm not sure. So that's something studying will have to do. Or if anyone wants to tell me what they believe it means, or if anyone in here is a Buddhist and has heard a teaching on why the elephant entered through the right side, leave a comment. In which she saw a white elephant entering into her womb through the right side of her chest, and she became pregnant. The king and the people looked forward with anticipation to the birth of a royal child, according to their custom. The queen returned to her parents' home for the birth. And on her way, in the beautiful spring sunshine, she took a rest in the Lumbini garden. All about her were ashaka blossoms. In delight, she reached her right arm out to pluck a branch, and as she did so, a prince was born. All expressed their heartfelt delight with the glory of the queen and her princely child. Heaven and earth rejoice. This memorable day was the 8th day of April. Okay, April. You know what's interesting? You notice as I read this, basically it sounds like the queen, obviously the 9 months passed, and one day she was in the garden and picking a flower, and her water broke. And it's interesting that the birthday's in April, because when you look at like Christianity and things like that, Passover is April-May time frame, depending on the position on the moon, because the calendars they used back then was not it wasn't based off the sun. It was a lunar calendar based off the moon. So it's just interesting how, just like I said, there's similarities if you look how this child, because honestly, I'm guessing this child is Buddha. And Buddha, in a lot of ways, is representation. Some people can see Buddha as being another representation or another form of Yahusha. In other words, past life. So some people believe Yahusha has been here many times, where Yahusha was Buddha. Yahusha was Yahusha. Now, I don't know about people saying Yahusha was Muhammad, peace be unto him. I don't believe he was. I don't think so. But there are people that say that, and I can see it. And then also, like I said, and then sometimes you might wonder, okay, what if Yahusha really was a prince? What would happen if he really was? Maybe, and then matter of fact, you could go back to the mound, right? Not the mound, not the Sermon on the Mount, but I forget which chapter in the New Testament where it's talking about Yahusha was on a mountain ministering to people again, and the people tried to make him a king. So, and when I look at past lives, and if you believe in past lives, I could look at everything is a learning situation. You could see thinking Yahusha coming as Buddha, right? As a prince. If this baby that is born is Buddha, I could be wrong. But just going from off what I'm reading, just going off of what's coming within my mind and thought process, I could see Yahusha coming once as Buddha and saying, okay, let's try to get the word out as a king, because for sure they'll listen to me if I'm a king and I'm an example of a king. But later on to find out, nah, that doesn't help either, because the greed of people and the ignorance of people runs very deep. So now fast forward, Yahusha living a different lifetime as Yahusha in Jerusalem. Now on the mountain says, these people will make me king, not because, because basically he's like, been there, done that, that didn't work. That's not going to help me. So this time, basically, it's like how they say they didn't have no home. It's all about the message this time. I don't want no titles, no nothing. Just look, I need y'all to listen. So anyway, that's just a thought. But let's keep going about my hypothesis as I keep reading. Okay, all about her were ashuka blossoms. In delight, she reached her right arm out to pluck a branch, and as she did so, a prince was born. All expressed their heartfelt delight with the glory of the queen and her princely child. Oh, and also I'm thinking the Asuka blossom might be, hold on, let me see what that looks like. The Asuka blossom. I'm going to look that up because something came to me as in, imagery. And if it is what I'm thinking it is, in a way, representation of life, representation of the creator, creation. Let me see how it look. The representation of a soul. Oh, that's almost like Ahsoka from Star Wars too. Okay, so now that, see, once again, Star Wars, man, these shows have so much in them. So now this is gonna give me, okay. Look, we already learning, family. Ahsoka. Okay, never mind. This ain't what I was thinking, but okay, but it could still probably be that. I was thinking more so. I forget which is the blossom, which is a representation of creation, a representation of source, a representation of the soul, a certain. I wonder. Okay, I forget what it's called, but anyway, I was just wondering if that's what it is and why she was picking it from a tree. And then once again, this white elephant, a new baby, the imagery, right side. Okay, hold on. Matter of fact, okay. So the white elephant, right bosom, the Messiah sits on the right side of the Creator. And then if you look on this book too, another thing. Oh, obviously, what is that representation of? The sun, the rising of the sun, the coming of the sun. Just saying, there's a lot of already imagery. Um, in the blossom, I was thinking. Hold on. Excuse me, family. I apologize. I really want to, because I'm kind of. That represents. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the lotus. Yeah, okay, so the lotus. Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's what I was thinking of. Okay, yeah. Okay, represents purity. Okay. Hold on. One hold on, family. One more thing. Cuz I want to okay, Asuka blossoms represents what in. Both Buddhism and Hinduism, the pillar symbolizes the axis mundi, the axis on which the world. Okay, okay. Message pillars called. Okay, so so it's saying that one of the things it's saying is that the blossom, right? The Asuka blossom is a representation of. I apologize for that pause, man. We learned together. So I think he was saying the Asuka blossom is almost like a as well. It's a first symbol of the religion of Buddhism. It's also to spread the spiritual message in order to gain wide. Okay, so basically, I can see once again is most of these books almost like a creation story. where she's picking a flower from the tree, which is representation of spreading wisdom, knowledge, spreading the wisdom from, what was she pulling it from? A tree. I believe she said, didn't she say the blossom was in a tree? Yeah. In delight, she reached her right arm out to pluck a branch, and she did, yeah. All about her were asuka blossoms. In delight, she reached her right arm out to pluck a branch, and she did so. A prince was born. Hold on. Are asuka blossoms born on trees? Okay, so yeah, okay. So yeah, asuka blossoms grow on trees. Okay, so yeah, already representation of, or basically a bigger plant. So already representation right there. Garden of Eden, a tree, wisdom, knowledge. The flower represents, like you're saying, a flowers represents representations of the first, basically the beginnings of the birth of the religion of Buddhism, and the new coming of the sun through the right breast, sitting on the right side of God, already the sun imagery. I guess the mother now, she's representation. She could be representation of the Holy Spirit in a way. Um, the white elephant, and I know there's meaning. Gotta look at it. Okay, anyway, let's keep going, family. All about her were asuka blossoms. In delight, she reached her right arm out to pluck a branch, and she did so. And as she did so, a prince was born. A prince was born. All expressed their heartfelt delight with the glory of the queen and her princely child. Heaven and earth rejoiced. This memorable day was the 8th day of April. Heaven and earth rejoiced. The joy of the king was extreme, and he named the child Siddhartha, which means every wish fulfilled. And I have come to fulfill. I did not come to destroy the prophets or their words or the commandments, but to fulfill. Every wish fulfilled. In the palace of the king, however, delight was followed quickly by sorrow, for after several days the lovely Queen Maya suddenly died. Her younger sister, Maharajapapi, became the child's foster mother and brought him up with loving care. A hermit called Asita, who lived in the mountains not far away, noticed a radiance about the castle. Interpreting it as a good omen, he came down to the palace and was shown the child. He predicted this prince, if he remains, he predicted this prince, if he remains in the palace, when grown up, will become a great king and subjugate the whole world. This prince, if he remains in the palace, when grown up, will become a great king and subjugate the whole world. But if he forsake the court life to embrace a religious life, he will become a Buddha, the savior of the world. I already kind of see in this story too. I see Yahusha in the manger, and I see the wise men. Because think about this, family. Even Yahusha, when it says, when his parents, remember when the king was trying to destroy them, killing all firstborns. They went to Egypt, right? And it says that they, why? So they can blend in because they look like the people there. But know that Yahusha also went to the mystery schools of Egypt. They don't tell you this. But if you do your studying, during that time, the mystery schools were in Egypt, where they taught all types of occultic type things. So I'm just saying, so in each time, Yahusha still needs to be reminded of who he is. I mean, don't be wrong. I'm pretty sure in ways he already knew. He already has wisdom because he is who he is. But I think it's like all of us. We all need to be awoken. Like he says, you will do what I've done and greater. But we first have to wake up to the truth of who we are. And I'm guessing, already kind of seeing that's what's going to come about eventually. A hermit called Asita who lived in the mountains, not far away. No, okay, hold on. At first, a hermit called Asita who lived in the mountains, not far away. And he comes from mountains. Notice a radiance. If you notice, wise men tend to live in mountains. A hermit called Asita who lived in the mountains, not far away, noticed a radiance about the castle. Interpreting Excuse me, family. Interpreting it as a good omen, he came down to the palace and was shown the child. He predicted this prince, if he remains in the palace, when grown up, will become a great king and subjugate the whole world. But if he forsake the court life to embrace a religious life, he will become a Buddha, the savior of the world. At first, the king was pleased to hear this prophecy, but later he started to worry about the possibility of his only son leaving the palace to become a homeless recluse. He had no place to lay his head. But it's not about no family. Then at the end of the day, remember when Satan tried to as Yahusha was on the top of the mountain, right? And Satan came and offered Yahusha the world. And this is where you look at sentence context and you need understanding. And Yahusha was like, what? Why not? But you know why? And Yahusha was like, what? I don't need that. My father owns all this. So basically, this is what you got to understand. Context. This is why I say put yourself in the shoes and get understanding. When Satan, I'm not going to say Lucifer. I don't think Lucifer, Satan, because you have to understand the ego. You have to understand the world. Satan offered him the world. He didn't offer him the earth. He didn't offer him the plants and the animals, the real power, Mother Earth. That's the creator. He offered him the cities, the kings, the establishments. But Yahusha knows those are nothing, because all the creator has to do is send through an earthquake or some type of storm, send in a tsunami if it's a city on the shore, and it's all gone in an instant like that. So Yahusha was like, man, you can't offer me nothing. These cities, these places that are here today, gone tomorrow. He was only offering him the world. So once again, when they say the end of the world, it doesn't necessarily mean the end of everything. Look at the words. It didn't say the end of earth, of Mother Earth. It didn't say the end of nature, of time. It said the end of a society. It's the end of an infrastructure. The end of the Roman Empire. The end of the Mongol Empire. The end of, one day, the end of the U.S. Empire. The end of the European Empire. It happens. They come and they go. So anyway, that's what I wanted to tell you right there. At the age of 7, oh, there goes a number. The Prince 7, that's an A. 7 on the 7. What was on the, hold on. Okay, my bad, family. So, anyway, those numbers. So at the age of 7, remember, Earth was made. Creation was created in 6 days. On the 7th day, he rested. He was born. And that's another thing too. Remember, he's. Huh. Okay. Anyway, let me go. At the age of 7, the prince began his lesson in the civil and military arts, but his thoughts more naturally tended to other things. One spring day, he went out of the castle with his father. Together they were watching a farmer at his plowing, when he noticed a bird descended to the ground and carried off a small worm, which had been turned up by the farmer's plow. He sat down in the shade of a tree and thought about it, whispering to himself, "Alas, do all living creatures kill each other?" The prince, who had lost his mother so soon after his birth, was deeply affected by the tragedy of these little creatures. This spiritual wound deepened day by day as he grew up, like a little scar on a young tree. The spiritual wound deepened day by day as he grew up, like a little scar on a young tree. The suffering of human life became more and more deeply ingrained in his mind. Matter of fact, I want to say something, fam. This reminds me of a story, and this is why I say, because realize this deep thought came in from one day seeing a bird. pick up a worm, and to most it might be insignificant, like that's a way of life. I want to give a quick story. I remember one day I was watching something online, and it kind of bothered my spirit, and it caused me to groan inside. I'm not gonna lie, complain, because I saw something that it was the life that I dreamed, and it was almost like the perfect image of what I would say in a way I wanted. And I'm not gonna lie, I had the spirit of jealousy within me. And I remember at the time I didn't have a vehicle, and I was taking the bus to work. And I remember as I'm sitting at the bus stop, because I was looking at this video right before I was going to work, and I'm sitting at the bus stop waiting, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, man, you know what? But as I try to be humble, I'd already been telling myself, sitting there, man, Lonnie, calm down, bro. It's not that serious, bro. Like, be humble. Like, look at everything you have. Life could be worse, people worse off, and you complaining about this and that. But then, I chill, and then the rumble would come back. But then I stop, it's calming down. But just, as I kind of calm down for a second, I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of, I guess, staring away into nothingness. And I noticed these pigeons. And one of the pigeons, it just came out of nowhere. They're out of the corner of my eye, and I just noticed that one of the pigeons was missing a whole leg. And on the one leg he was missing one or two toes. And I remember, but he was just, and I just remember looking at him just kind of like, with the other pigeons, just hopping along, minding his own business, getting food, like no care in the world. And I sat there thinking to myself, my spirit suddenly just like penetrated me and just like made me feel so bad about, look at it, because basically it was like, look at this pigeon, man. Like, this pigeon is missing a whole leg, and on his other leg he's missing toes. But yeah, he going about life like, all is well. Like, he eating food, going about his business. You sitting here, got a roof over your head, got a job, you there's really nothing going on with you, but you sitting here complaining about something you saw. In other words, coveting what someone else has. And in that moment, like I said, that bird taught me so much. And it blew my mind for like days how deep in that moment that bird just like brought me back to reality, that pigeon, and just how I looked at myself and just complaining like, this bird could die at any moment. Everything is threatening its life. I mean, you see it's missing a leg, but yet he going about life like real cool, real simple, and I'm sitting here complaining. And just the whole day I was like, that freaking pigeon, yo. Pigeon blew my mind, yo. I was just like pigeon touched me so deeply, family. You don't understand. This pigeon just, I was telling people at work about the pigeon. I started talking to a whole I remember right after the pigeon, I met a homeless man, and I know he thought I was crazy because he's sitting there minding his own business. But it's funny because after the pigeon, I saw the homeless man, and I remember seeing him, and he looked like Yahusha, like Jesus. And I thought to myself, I was like, Jesus? I didn't say that to him, but in my mind, I'm thinking like, and it's a homeless dude. I'm thinking like Jesus just sat next to me at the bus stop, or Yahusha, whatever you want to call him. I say Yahusha most time, but I feel like most people aren't really into that. So, but for understanding purposes. So, and I remember I started talking to him about the pigeon, and I just remember he didn't say nothing. This man said not one word, but I'm sitting there just telling him about my day, and I started telling him how the pigeon made me think like, man, we complain in life about our issues, but yet this pigeon is sitting here having a better day than me, making me look bad, and I'm sitting here complaining, and this pigeon all good, and I'm telling you, the man said nothing, right? And then I remember the bus rode up, and and I remember I said for a second, I don't know, like I said, he really didn't say nothing. I think I said, how you doing? I said, what's up, man? He was like, he was just like, hey. So, but anyway, but I'm not even sure if he said that. But anyway, because I remember I just started talking to this man, and he's like, probably, who's this crazy man? So anyway, as I'm getting on the bus, I tell him, I said, you have a blessed day, brother. And I remember the whole time he was sitting there, like, it was almost like, honestly, looked like he was having a bad day too. Like, he was just with this one, just sitting there, like, his life was just like this, like, he just, I don't know, like, it was done. And when he was, and like I said, and I noticed he listened to me, I was wondering at times, man, does this man think I'm crazy or what? But because he just wasn't saying nothing. He was just sitting there just like, Like I knew he was listening because you could see out of the corner of his eye him looking, but then it almost looked like at times he was like it looked at times like he almost kind of wanted to laugh, like this dude is crazy, but then he stopped and turned his head like he was thinking, and then it'd be like he about to be like, and then like I said, but he said nothing. But as I'm getting on the bus, I say, "You have a blessed day, brother," and he just looks at me. He's like, "You too, brother." But the way he said it, though, just the difference, it was almost like even though he didn't say really, he literally didn't say anything to me. And I was just some random guy at the bus stop talking to him. He's a homeless dude, probably thinking like, "Man, dude, crazy. He'll know what I've been through." And me just telling him a random story of a pigeon, he just looked like it was just like. Just I don't know, just the way he said that, it was almost like, at least to me, it felt like a thank you in a way without saying thank you. Whereas like he was feeling, and I didn't really know he was really having a bad day. It just looked, but it just almost like I made him think about something, and that's just the way the creation works, family. You know, just even all that meant something. I don't know where that man is now. For all we know, that man got his own place now. You know, he doing. It's not to say that getting into society and the beast system is the answer to all your problems. That's not what I'm saying. But sometimes you can't help anyone else if you can't help yourself. And you got to be in a position to be able to learn. You know, and sometimes the Creator got to take you to poverty, man, and teach you that. But anyway, let's get back into it, family. I apologize. I know I went off. I want to tell that story real quick because that's what the worm kind of... Hold on. Okay. The king was increasingly okay. This spiritual wound deepened day by day as he grew up, like a little scar on a young tree. The suffering of human life became more and more deeply ingrained in his mind. The king was increasingly worried as he recalled the hermit's prophecy and tried in every possible way to cheer the prince and to turn his thoughts in other directions. The king arranged the marriage of the prince at the age of 19 to the princess Yashadhara. She was the daughter of Supra Buddha. The lord of Deva Daha castle and a brother of the late Queen Maya. So they were cousins. For 10 years, in the different pavilions of spring, autumn, and the rainy season, the prince was immersed in rounds of music, dancing, and pleasure, but always his thoughts returned to the problem of suffering as he pensively tried to understand the true meaning of human life. The luxuries of the palace, this healthy body, this rejoicing youth, what do they mean to me? He thought, someday we may be sick. We shall become aged from death. There is no escape. Pride of youth, pride of health, pride of existence. All thoughtful people should cast them aside. A man struggling for existence will naturally look for something of value. There are two ways of looking, a right way and a wrong way. If he looks in the wrong way, he recognizes that sickness, old age, and death are unavoidable, but he seeks the opposite. I got to read that again, family. The luxuries of the palace, this healthy body, this rejoicing youth, what do they mean to me? He thought, someday we may be sick. We shall become aged from death. There is no escape. We shall become aged. From death there is no escape. Pride of youth, pride of health, pride of existence. All thoughtful people should cast them aside. A man struggling for existence will naturally look for something of value. There are two ways of looking, a right way and a wrong way. If he looks in the wrong way, he recognizes that sickness, old age, and death are unavoidable, but he seeks the opposite. If he looks in the right way, he recognizes the true nature of sickness, old age, and death, and he searches for meaning in that which transcends all human suffering. In my life of pleasure, I seem to be looking in the wrong way. If he looks in the right way, he recognizes the true nature of sickness, old age, and death, and he searches for meaning in that which transcends all human suffering. In my life of pleasure, I seem to be looking in the wrong way. I like how I put that, family. It gave like a choice of the right way and the wrong way, like making a left or a right. And if you went, hold on, and it says if he went the wrong way, let's say that was left. That's got in this. Matter of fact, no. Let's say the wrong way is right, and that's and the truth is he looks at sickness and old age and death, and they're unavoidable, right? Even though that's wrong, even though it says it's the wrong way, in truth, it's the truth. But then it puts it in a way where he looks. If he looks in the right way, he recognizes the true nature. Okay, well, it's a play on words. So let's just go back and say the left way is the death and everything, right? But then the left way is still the death. It's still the sickness, but it's getting an understanding of death and sickness and what's the purpose of it. And what else was I thinking? But let's keep going. If he looks in the right way, he recognizes the true nature of sickness, old age, and death. And he searches for meaning in that which transcends all human suffering. Oh, what this brings to me, family, is in life, I think we have this, we have this delusion to think that joy is promised all the time and that we should always be happy and that's how life is. But that's not how life is. Joy comes and goes. Like your emotions. Your emotions, because joy is an emotion, it changes like you change your drawers. It's here today, gone tomorrow. And I would say the older you get, the things that you find joyful now when you're youthful, when you're in your 20s, early 30s, things of that nature, as you get older, they're not going to be as fun. Even if you continue to do them and you might get some fun out of them, eventually, let's say you party all the way to your 60-something, eventually sickness is going to get you. And all that partying and stuff at that moment isn't going to mean anything. None of it is going to add up to anything at that moment when you're sick, deathly sick. And we have to understand, family, where... What was I talking about? Oh, so look, family. Matter of fact, the show Resident Evil, Joy. The T virus is being sent out in a drug called joy. The world wants you to be addicted to joy. That's why people say people get addicted to drugs, because of the joy. It's not healthy to be joyful all the time. It's not saying you should be depressed all the time or angry or sad, but you need a balance, family. It's part of life. You need to understand how to control your emotions and understand what they're here for, what they're used for. You know, if you're happy all the time, then, like for instance, if the prince was always only happy when he was partying and doing whatever, if he never got sad, then he never would have did whatever I'm pretty sure he's going to do eventually. If those feelings never came, change would have never come. Sometimes, family, you have to take that sadness, you got to take that anger, and you have to turn it into something not negative, but turn it into something positive. Use that anger, use that sadness, use that envy, use it and turn it into something positive. Don't use it to go towards the dark. I mean, look, you have free will, do what you want. But no karma, cause and effect. Saying, family, for every action, there's reaction. So you may do something evil now and think you got away with it. But know that doing negative things is like a credit card, family. You charging it now, but eventually you have to pay it back. I saw that once on a church billboard where it says sin is like a credit card. You enjoy it now, charging it now, but later on, eventually you're gonna have to pay it back. I'm not gonna lie, that was so deep on so many levels. Oh man, let's keep going. The prince who had lost his mother so soon after his birth was deeply affected by the hold on. Oh, okay, no. Okay. Excuse me, family. A man struggling for existence will naturally look for something of value. There are two ways of looking, a right way and a wrong way. If he looks in the wrong way, he recognizes that sickness, old age, and death are unavoidable, but he seeks the opposite. If he looks in the right way, he recognizes the true nature of sickness, old age, and death, and he searches for meaning in that which transcends all human suffering. In my life of pleasure, I seem to be looking in the wrong way. Thus the spiritual struggle went on in the mind of the prince until his only child, Rahula, was born when he was 29. This seemed to bring things to a climax, for he then decided to leave the palace and look for the solution of his spiritual unrest in the homeless life of a mendicant. He left the castle one night with only his charioteer, Chidaka, and his favorite horse, the Snow White, Kanthaka. There goes that white animal again. His anguish did not end, and many devils tempted him, saying, "You would do better to return to the castle, for the whole world would soon be yours." But he told the devil that he did not want the whole world. So he shaved his head and turned his step towards the south, carrying a begging bowl in his hand. Ah, look at that, man. I mean, look. What did I say earlier? The devil, not Lucifer, because Satan and devil is your ego. Is Lucifer is a separate entity from the devil and Satan. Devil and Satan is just a title or ego. And in other words, like I say, he offered him, you would do better to return to the castle, for the whole world would soon be yours. Anyway, I already explained it earlier. But he told the devil that he did not want the whole world. So he shaved his head and turned his steps towards the south. I know that means something. I'm not sure as far as the south right now, but I know in shaving your head is in a way a symbolism of leaving the old. It's like casting off your old ways and coming into the new. So that's also something. Look into Nazarites. That's the reason why they cut their hair and then let it grow back. Yes, they let it grow back, and most of the time they won't. Most of the time, those people don't cut their beards and they don't cut their hair, but only for specific reasons, because your hair has wisdom and power in it. The prince first visited the hermit Bhagava and watched his ascetic practices. He then went to Arada, Kalama, and Uraka Ramaputra to learn their methods of attaining enlightenment through meditation. But after practicing them for a time, he became convinced that they would not lead him to enlightenment. Finally, he went to the land of Magdha and practiced asceticism in the forest of Uruvilva. He practiced ascetism. Let me see what that means real quick. Ascetism. I want to know if that's like the practice of ascension. Severe self-discipline and avoidance of all forms of indulgence, typically for religious reasons. Acts of physical ascent. Okay. Yeah, I believe. Okay. So I'm pretty sure, yeah. Ascetism. In other words, disciplining yourself so you can ascend one day. Okay. Where is I at? Enlightenment through meditation. But after practicing them for a time, he became convinced. The prince, I know I'm reading fast, family, my bad. The prince first visited the hermit, Bhagava, and watched his ascetic practices. He then went to Arada, Kalama, and Urdraka Rampaputra to learn their methods of attaining enlightenment through meditation. But after practicing them for a time, he became convinced that they would not lead him to enlightenment. Finally, he went to the land of Magdha and practiced ascetism in the forest of Urvilva that name sounds interesting. Like and Viva. I can't think of what's coming to mind, but biblical things. Ascetism in the forest of Urvila on the banks of Nirjana River, which flows by the Gaya village. The methods of his practice were unbelievably rigorous. He spurred himself on with the thought that no ascetic in the past, none in the present, and none in the future ever has practiced or ever will practice more earnestly than I do. Still, the prince could not realize his goal. After 6 years in the forest, he gave up the practice of ascetism. He went bathing in the river and accepted a bowl of milk from the hand of Sujata, a maiden who lived in the neighboring village. The 5 companions who had lived with the prince during the 6 years of his ascetic practice were shocked that he should receive milk from the hand of a maiden. They thought him degraded and left him. Thus the prince was left alone. He was still weak, but at the risk of losing his life, he attempted yet another period of meditation. Thus the prince was left alone. He was still weak, but at the risk of losing his life. Hold on. Still the prince could not realize his goal. After 6 years in the forest, he gave up the practice of ascetism. He went bathing in the river and accepted a bowl of milk from the hand of Sujata, a maiden who lived in the neighboring village. The 5 companions who had lived with the prince during the 6 years of his ascetic practice were shocked that he should receive milk from the hand of a maiden. They thought him degraded and left. You know what I see also in this passage, family? I see the passage from the Bible when Yahusha was accepted water from the well, the woman at the well who said that she had many, that she wasn't married, and Yahusha was like, you've actually been married many times. And the disciples are like, what? How can you accept this from that woman? And they were all kind of like, what? What are you doing? That's what I kind of hear here. But I also hear completion, because remember at this time he was practicing all types of ways to become enlightened. And it says that at this last part, he was practicing asceticism for 6 years. Remember, the earth was created in 6 days. So that's 6 days of work. And on the 7th day, he rested. I'm just saying, look at the symbolism, family. Thus, the prince was left alone. He was still weak, but... Okay, hold on. The 5 companions who had lived with the prince during the 6 years of his ascetic practice were shocked that he should receive milk from the hand of a maiden. They thought him degraded and left him. I'm not sure. I know the 5 means something. I'm not sure. Only thing I can think of, even starting that direction of what it means, is once again the 7 days of creation, the first 5 days left, and the 6th day was left alone. And what, to rest? Thus the prince was left alone. He was still weak, but at the risk of losing his life, he attempted yet another period of meditation, saying to himself, blood may become exhausted, flesh may decay, bones may fall apart, but I will never leave this place until I find the way to enlightenment. Do not love your life unto death. Because I see that more so, this is more like, I see that more so as more talk of ascension, crossing over, like people might call it saved, or just knowing that there's more than just this fleshly body, crossing over to the spirit. It was an intense and incomparable struggle for him. He was desperate and filled with confusion. Thoughts, dark shadows overhung his spirit. And he was beleaguered by all the lures of the devils. I gotta look that up. Beleaguered. This word, beleaguered. It's BELEAGUERD. Beleaguered. Beleaguered definition. And I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Beleaguered. Okay, beleaguered. In a very difficult situation, the board is supporting the beleaguered director Ahmed. Calls for his resignation. Surrounded by armed forces aiming to capture it. Okay, I guess I got it. Beleaguered by all the lures of the devils. Basically, people trying to tempt him. Carefully and patiently, he examined them one by one and rejected them all. It was a hard struggle indeed, making his blood run thin, his flesh fall away, and his bones crack. But when the morning star appeared in their eastern sky, look at that symbolism. The struggle was over, and the prince's mind was as clear and bright as the breaking day. He had at last found the path to enlightenment. It was December 8th when the prince became a Buddha at 35 years of age. It was December 8th when the prince... December. Okay. From this time on, the prince was known by different names. Some spoke of him as Buddha. Okay, and also, hear this, family. When the prince became a Buddha at 35 years of age, remember, the Buddha is a title, right? Also, when it comes to the Christos, Yahusha said, "You will become me. You will do as I do, as I have done, and you will do greater." He's talking about the Christos, the Buddha. The Buddha it is the same thing. It's taking on the spirit of the Messiah, basically taking up your cross. So just throwing that out there. When the prince became a Buddha at 35 years of age, from this time on, the prince was known by different names. Some spoke of him as Buddha, the perfectly enlightened one, Tathagata. Some spoke of him as Shakyamuni, the sage of the Shakya clan. Others called him the world honored one. He went first to Mirgadava in Varanasi. He first went to Mirdava in Varanasi, where the 5 mendicants who had lived with him during the 6 years of his ascetic life were staying. At first they shunned him, but after they had talked with him, they believed in him and became his first followers. Had to go get his disciples, and he forgave them for abandoning him. He then went to the Rajagriha castle and won over King Bimbisara, who had always been his friend. From there he went about the country living on alms and teaching men to accept his way of life. People responded to him as the thirsty seek water and the hungry food. People responded to him as the thirsty seek water and the hungry food. Men must live off more than bread alone, but on all the words that come forth from the mouth of the Creator. In other words, people responded to him as the thirsty seek water and the hungry food. In other words, people come to him to seek real food and real water, which is wisdom. 2 great disciples, Sariputta and Madgalayana, and their 2,000 followers came to him. At first, the Buddha's father, King Shuddhadana, still inwardly suffering because of his son's decision to leave the palace, remained aloof, but then became his faithful disciple. That's what's up. Have your own father become your disciple? At first, the Buddha's father, King Shuddhadana, still inwardly suffering because of his son's decision to leave the palace, remained aloof, but then became his faithful disciple. Mahaprajapati, the Buddha's stepmother, and Princess Yashoda, his wife, and all the members of the Shakya clan began to follow him. Multitudes of others also became his devoted and faithful followers. Look at that. He got his kingdom eventually. He got his people and everybody else, and didn't even have to fire a shot. Yo, if that ain't the Creator, come on now. For 45 years, the Buddha went about his country, preaching and persuading people to follow his way of life. But when he was 80 at Vasali and on his way from Rajagriha to Shravasti, he became ill and predicted that after 3 months he would enter nirvana. Still he journeyed on until he reached Pava, where he fell seriously ill from some food offered by Chunda, a blacksmith. Eventually, in spite of great pain and weakness, he reached the forest that bordered Kusangara. Lying between 2 large Sela trees, he continued teaching his disciples until his last moment. Thus he entered into perfect tranquility after he had completed his work as the world's greatest teacher. Family, I'm almost done. Under the guidance of Ananda, the Buddha's favorite disciple, the body was cremated by his friends in Kusinagara. 7 neighboring rulers, as well as King Ajatasattu, demanded that the relics be divided among them. The people of Kunsangara at first refused, and disputed, even threatened to end in war. But under the advice of a wise man named Drona, the crisis passed and the relics were divided among the 8 great countries. The ashes of the funeral pyre and the earthen jar that contained the relics were also given to other rulers, to two other rulers to be likewise honored. Thus 10 great towers commemorating the Buddha were built to enshrine his relics and ashes. Okay, family, I'm going to end it there because that's the end, and next we're getting into chapter 2. So, all I want to say in the notes is, once again, I'm not telling you to worship Buddha. I'm not saying, and some people might say, well, if he died like a man and this and that and in pain, look, when you understand past lives, family, you understand that this is all for a reason. We're here to experience. Who are you to say that Yahushua hasn't come here many times and wanted to experience life through different aspects? He wanted to experience what it was like to be a king and to die as a king, and he did. He wanted to come and experience what it'd be like to die as a martyr, and he came and he did it. And who knows what other ways he came. Or even just, once again, you will do as I do, or do even greater. Maybe the Buddha wasn't Yahusha in spiritual form. Maybe, like I said, once again, he just attained the Christos. Or in the Buddhist text, the Buddha, the spirit of the Buddha. Buddha is just a title. Just like Christ is just a title. It's Messiah. Buddha is another title. Yahusha, Hamashiach of Nazareth. The name Yahusha HaMashiach is his name. Messiah, oh, no. Yeah, Mashiach means Messiah. Okay, no, HaMashiach means Messiah, okay? So, Yahusha is his name. HaMashiach is another word for Messiah. It's just a title, right? Nazareth is the town that he lived in, or supposedly lived in. Same thing for Buddha. Buddha is not his name. It's a title. Same thing with the Christos. Same thing the Bible saying, you will do as I have done, and you will do greater. We are all the sons and daughters of the Most High. Anyway, family, with that said, I'm going to end this video. Thank you for joining me in Unsectarian Wisdom as usual. I'm a wise, wealthy, rich, celestial being that is loved by the Most High Creator. Let's get it, family. Catch you later. Be blessed.